Sunlight streamed through the bay windows of my parents' formal dining room, catching on the crystal glasses and scattering tiny prisms across the polished mahogany table. The familiar weight of tradition settled over me as I adjusted the burgundy linen napkin on my lap and breathed in the aroma of Mom's pot roast. At 38, I had learned to play my part in these Sunday gatherings, but the heaviness never left. Dad stood at the head of the table carving meat with the same practiced precision he'd shown all my life. "Just a small piece for me," I said quietly, but he ignored the request, placing a generous portion onto my plate without even glancing up. "You're too thin, Gabrielle. Always have been?" I was on the verge of reminding him that I was perfectly capable of determining my own portion sizes when the front door burst open and the calm shattered. Vanessa swept in with her husband Mark and their 3 children backpacks, dropping voices rising and the smell of cold autumn air following them. "Sorry we're late," she announced brightly without the faintest hint of remorse. Traffic was terrible by the outlet mall. I caught her unusual excitement immediately and felt my stomach tighten. "You went shopping before Sunday dinner?" I asked, but my question drowned under Mom's delighted greeting of her grandchildren. Dad caught Vanessa's eye and gave her that old conspiratorial look, the silent exchange I'd seen since childhood, the one that always meant I was about to discover I was the only one excluded from some plan. We settled into small talk, passing dishes and pretending normality. Mom asked about my latest architectural project, Dad quizzed Mark about the stock market, and the kids whined over vegetables. Then Vanessa's voice rose, cutting through the noise. "We're moving into your Lakehouse next week. We've got foundation issues at our place." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. What I managed. "It's just sitting empty anyway," Gabrielle Dad said in a tone too casual to be anything but deliberate. "I get the blue bedroom," Vanessa's oldest son shouted, bouncing in his chair. His sister protested about claiming it first. Their argument faded into background static as realization settled over me. This wasn't spontaneous. This had been planned and decided before I'd even arrived. Mom's voice followed, breezy and firm. "Your lake house has plenty of room, and they won't be there forever." 6 years I had spent restoring that property, $420,000 to purchase it, another $95,000 in repairs, not to mention the flood damage I handled alone while my family cruised the Caribbean. That house wasn't just real estate. It was where I rebuilt myself after my divorce, where I finally learned to sleep without double-checking the locks. "Family needs to help family," Vanessa said, with the rehearsed tone of someone who'd practiced a speech. "We'd do the same for you," Dad added. "It would only be 7 months until their foundation work is done." Mark studied his plate, silent, a picture of complicity. I set my napkin down. Mom waved my objection away. "Gabrielle, you're always so particular about your things. This is what families do." Dad's voice slid into the condescending register he used when he believed someone was being unreasonable. "We help each other." Vanessa's smile curled in quiet triumph. She had always taken. I had always given. And our parents had always facilitated. Not this time. I reached into my handbag and placed a crisp manila folder on the table. "The contractors start Monday next week," I said, opening it to reveal renovation contracts and city permits dated 3 months earlier. "It's a complete 9-month renovation. Everything down to the studs." Silence fell like a curtain. Dad's knife hovered over the roast. Mom's water glass remained suspended halfway to her lips. Vanessa's smile collapsed. I took a slow sip of water, feeling calm rather than guilty. Tiny rainbows danced across the tablecloth, sharp and beautiful. "You can't be serious," Vanessa said finally, her voice an octave higher. "We've already given notice at our apartment. Where are we supposed to go?" I thought of the time she borrowed my car for a weekend trip that lasted 2 months. Returned it with a cracked windshield that was already like that. The loan of $3,000 that ballooned to $18,000 and remained unpaid. The spare key she'd secretly copied to my apartment. I looked her squarely in the eye. "You'll have to find somewhere else. The contractors start Monday." Dad set down his carving knife, shifting into his corporate negotiator tone. Be reasonable. Your sister has 3 children. And foundation issues, Mom added. You can't expect them to live in an unsafe house. I don't, I said. I expect them to find their own housing solution that doesn't involve taking mine. Vanessa narrowed her eyes, sharing a glance with Dad, the same look they'd exchanged when I was 16, and learned they'd given my college savings to fund her wedding. But we've already started packing, Vanessa said, voice sliding from demanding to desperate. The moving truck is scheduled for Monday morning. This will break your father's heart. My phone buzzed. A text from Miguel, my contractor, all materials delivered. We're ready for Monday morning, 7:00 a.m. sharp. Another notification, smart lock system active. A warmth spread through me, not anger, not anxiety. Confidence. While they were planning their ambush, I had been preparing. The security company finished installation last week. Permits filed and approved. Everything by the book. What about storage for our furniture? Mark asked quietly. We could at least store things in the garage temporarily. The garage is being converted to a home gym, I replied. Everything's coming down to the studs. Vanessa hissed. You'll regret putting renovation before family. Dad leaned forward, voice low. Gabriel, this could impact certain decisions about the future. The inheritance threat right on cue. What about the children? Mom added, eyes wide with practiced distress. I folded my napkin with deliberate precision. The weight of their demands no longer crushed me. Poor planning on your part doesn't constitute an emergency on mine, I said, meeting Dad's gaze directly. Recognition flickered across his face. I had turned his own business mantra back on him. I stood collecting my purse and the manila folder. I've respected my contractual obligations. You should respect my boundaries. Sit down, Gabriel, Dad ordered, voice hard. We're not finished discussing this. I said, walking toward the door. The protests rose behind me, but I didn't turn. The front door closed with a soft click that felt more decisive than any slam. Outside, the autumn air filled my lungs. My phone lit up with Dad's number before I even reached my car. By the time I hit the highway, 12 missed calls filled the screen. Only then did my hands begin to shake, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. But beneath it, my resolve held. I dialed Miguel. Make sure the security system is fully operational by tomorrow morning, and move the dumpsters directly in front of the garage doors. I'm concerned about unauthorized access. Already planned on it, he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Miguel's voice was calm and steady, a lifeline in the chaos. We've got everything locked down, Gabrielle. I'll send you a photo once the dumpsters are in place, and the keypads are pin-only, now no keys to copy. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Thank you. Really. No problem. See you Monday. The call ended. I stared at the phone for a moment longer, the glow of the screen reflecting in the windshield. My hands still trembled, but my pulse slowed. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to my family's decisions. I was acting on my own. By the time I pulled into the driveway of my townhouse, the sun had dipped low, painting the sky in streaks of gold and deep rose. My neighbors were raking leaves, children chalking sidewalks with crooked hopscotch grids. Normal lives, quiet lives. I craved that normalcy, but mine had always been a battleground disguised as tradition. Inside, the familiar scent of lemon oil and fresh laundry greeted me, my sanctuary. I slipped off my shoes and padded to the kitchen, pulling a bottle of sparkling water from the fridge. The fizz against my tongue was sharp, bracing. My phone vibrated again, this time, a text from Vanessa. You're destroying this family. You've always been selfish. Another followed immediately from Dad. You're making a mistake you'll regret. We'll discuss this tomorrow. And then from Mom. Think of the children. They'll be heartbroken. I set the phone down face first on the counter and leaned against the cool granite. My eyes flicked to the corkboard above the coffee maker where I had pinned the renovation plans for the Lakehouse hand-drawn sketches of the new open-concept kitchen, the sunroom I'd been dreaming about for years, the cedar deck facing the water. My future, not theirs. For so long I had confused compliance with love, giving, hoping it would earn respect. But standing in that dining room watching Vanessa smile at her victory before it even happened, something inside me had snapped back into place. The woman who'd built a career out of managing multi-million-dollar projects could handle a manipulative family dinner. I picked up my phone and typed, fingers steady. Now. The decision is final. Contractors arrive Monday at 7 a.m. The property is secured. Do not enter without my permission. I hit send to all three. No explanations, no apologies. My chest felt lighter, though the ache lingered, grief for what I wished my family had been. A notification pinged almost immediately, but it wasn't from them. It was an email from my lawyer confirming that the new trust documents had been filed last week, transferring the Lakehouse out of the family estate and into my name solely. Ironclad. I smiled, small at first, then wider. The battle was over before it even began. The phone buzzed again, this time a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it but swiped to answer. "Ms. Carter," a man's voice asked. "This is Detective Monroe with the County Sheriff's Office. We've had a report of a break-in attempt at your lake property tonight." My heart lurched. My grip on the phone tightened. "A break-in?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yes, ma'am," Detective Monroe replied. "One of your neighbors at the lake called it in. Said they saw a black SUV parked by the gate about 20 minutes ago. 2 adults and 3 kids tried to get through the side entrance. They left when the alarm triggered. Vanessa, Mark, the children." My stomach twisted, not with guilt this time, but with a cold, clean clarity. Was anything damaged? Not that we can see from the outside. "Your security cameras caught everything, though. We'd like to meet you at the property tomorrow to review the footage and file an official report." I swallowed hard. "I'll be there at 8. "Good. And Ms. Carter?" The detective hesitated. "It might be worth changing your security code tonight." "I already have." We ended the call. The kitchen felt suddenly too quiet, the hum of the refrigerator loud in the stillness. I stared at the phone in my hand, the screen gone dark. My family hadn't even waited until Monday. They'd driven out there tonight knowing my contractors weren't on site yet, hoping to slip in before I could stop them. I poured myself another glass of sparkling water and walked to the corkboard again. The renovation plans were still there, crisp and full of promise. But I added something new, a sticky note with a single word. Boundaries. I placed it over the Lakehouse sketch like a seal. My phone buzzed once more. A text from Vanessa, this one different from the last. "We went out to the lake tonight. The kids wanted to see the house. The alarm scared them. You're cruel." I typed back slowly, deliberately. "You attempted to enter private property without permission. Do not do it again. The sheriff's office has been notified." I didn't wait for her reply. I turned off my phone completely, something I almost never did. The silence that followed was like standing at the edge of the lake on a windless morning, still deep and free. Upstairs, I opened my laptop to double-check the footage from the security cameras. Sure enough, the SUV's headlights flared in the grainy night view. Vanessa trying the gate, Mark pacing the children in the back seat. Then the alarm light flashing and all of them scrambling back into the vehicle. The timestamp 7:42 p.m. I closed the laptop and sat back, a strange mix of exhaustion and relief washing over me. They had played their hand early. And now, for the first time, there was a record, evidence no one could twist into a story about me being selfish. Tomorrow I would meet the detective. Tomorrow the contractors would arrive. Tomorrow the lockout would be complete. I exhaled long and slow. For the first time in years, I felt like the house wasn't the only thing being rebuilt. Morning at the lake had always carried a quiet kind of magic mist rising from the water, the smell of damp pine, the first shafts of sun spilling across the dock. But today, as Gabrielle turned her car onto the gravel drive, the magic was edged with steel. A white contractor's van sat just inside the gate ladders strapped to the roof. Beyond it, a black and gold sheriff's SUV idled exhaust curling into the cool air. Miguel stood near the van, clipboard in hand, his hard hat tucked under his arm. "Morning, Gabrielle," he called, eyes scanning the tree line as though expecting someone to emerge. "We're ready to start as soon as you're done with the detective." Detective Monroe stepped forward, tall and broad-shouldered in a navy jacket, his badge clipped to his belt. He extended a hand. "Ms. Carter." "Thanks for coming." She shook his hand firmly. "I didn't expect to see you so early. Figured you'd want this handled before your crew gets to work." He gestured to the gate where a faint scuff marked the paint near the keypad. "We walked the perimeter. No forced entry, but somebody definitely tried the code." Gabrielle's stomach tightened. "Did you?" "Yes. We pulled the footage from your cameras already." He held up a small thumb drive. "Matches the neighbor's description. SUV, 2 adults, 3 kids. Same vehicle registered to your sister's husband, Mark Hollis." Gabrielle let out a slow breath. "And because it's family, you're telling me I can press charges or not?" "Exactly." Monroe's voice was neutral, but his eyes held a flicker of sympathy. "It's your call. Trespassing, attempted unlawful entry, both are on the table. At minimum, we can issue a warning." She glanced at the lake, the mist lifting like a curtain. For years, this place had been her refuge. Last night, they'd tried to take even that from her. "Let's start with an official warning," she said quietly. "But I want a record." "No more, he said," she said. "That's exactly what this is." Monroe handed her a clipboard with a simple statement form. "Sign here. We'll contact them today." She signed, her pen steady. Miguel stepped closer once Monroe moved back to his SUV. "We're ready to demo the interior," he said softly. "Want to walk through before we start?" Gabrielle nodded and followed him inside. The house smelled faintly of cedar and fresh paint, a mixture of the past and the future. In the living room, rolls of protective plastic lined the floor. Workers were already unloading tools from the van. Miguel handed her a hard hat. "Take a look at this," he said, pointing to a spot near the back door. "Whoever came last night tried this handle too." Alarm did its job, though. Gabrielle crouched, touching the scuffed brass. Her sanctuary had been breached but not taken. "Make the new door steel core," she said. "I want it impossible to force." "You got it." As they moved from room to room, marking walls for removal and windows for expansion, Gabrielle felt her shoulders ease. Each mark of chalk was a small act of reclamation. In the kitchen, Miguel unrolled the blueprints across the island. "By spring, this will be a whole new house," he said. She smiled faintly. "So will I." Outside, the sheriff's SUV rumbled to life, gravel crunching under its tires as it turned back to the road. The warning was being delivered. The record was being made. And for the first time, Gabrielle felt the weight of her family's demands slide off her like an ill-fitting coat. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "We got your message, but you're not done with us yet." She stared at it, thumb hovering over the screen. Then she locked the phone, slipped it into her pocket, and turned back to Miguel. "Let's get started," she said. That afternoon, as Gabrielle's contractors ripped out the old cabinets and pried up the worn flooring, Detective Monroe called with an update. "They've been served," he said. "Official warning for trespassing and attempted unlawful entry." "Your sister wasn't happy." Gabrielle pictured Vanessa's face when the deputy showed up at her door. "Did she say anything?" "She said it was a misunderstanding," Monroe replied. "But when asked if they had permission, she admitted you told them no. That's all we needed. It's on record now. If they try again, it escalates." "Good," Gabrielle said simply. She hung up and set her phone aside, breathing in the scent of fresh-cut wood and drywall dust. In the background, hammers thudded rhythmically, a heartbeat of progress. Miles away, Vanessa slammed her phone onto the kitchen counter. A warning, she snapped. Mark stood across from her, arms folded, his face tight. They made it sound like we're criminals. You tried to break into her property, Mark said quietly. Vanessa rounded on him. It's not her property. It's family property. Mark hesitated, then shook his head. Not anymore. Didn't you hear the deputy? She's changed the title. It's hers alone now. There's nothing we can do. Vanessa's nails clicked against the granite. Dad won't let this stand. But in the next room, their father sat hunched in his chair, phone in hand. The sheriff's warning had come through his email, too. His eyes were narrowed, not with anger at Gabrielle, but with the first glint of recognition that perhaps he had underestimated her. Vanessa, he called, voice quieter than usual. Leave your sister be. You're only making this worse. Vanessa froze, her father's words hitting harder than the deputy's. You're siding with her. I'm protecting this family from looking like fools, he snapped. She's made it legal. You can't touch her house. For the first time in years, Vanessa had no retort. Back at the Lakehouse, Gabrielle stood on the new raw planked deck watching the mist burn off the water. Her phone buzzed again this time, a short clipped message from her father. Enough. We're done. No threats. No guilt. Just 3 words that felt like a door closing. Gabrielle exhaled slowly. The sound of saws and hammers swelled behind her, echoing the steady rebuilding of something inside herself. For once, she wasn't bracing for the next demand. She was simply standing in her own life, unclaimed, unassailable. She ran a hand along the railing and whispered to the empty lake. This is mine. 9 months later, the summer sun spilled across the lake like a sheet of glass. The once worn house now stood quiet and radiant, its facade rebuilt with cedar and wide panels of glass. Inside, the scent of fresh wood mingled with coffee. The wall that had once divided the kitchen from the living room was gone, opening into a bright, airy space. Sunlight poured across polished floors. No trace remained of arguments, tears, or that old feeling of being taken for granted. Gabrielle set her coffee cup down on the new table. She had just signed the papers to sell her apartment in the city and was preparing to move here full-time. Her job now allowed her to work remotely. Behind her, a large frame hung on the wall, the very first sketch of the renovation, a reminder that she had turned her own vision into reality. Her phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Congratulations. The house is beautiful. I'm sorry for everything. Gabrielle read it slowly, her fingers brushing the screen. No anger, no bargaining, only calm. She typed back. Thank you. I wish you the best. No blame, no rehashing the past. The message sent like a pebble dropped into the lake, rippling once and then fading. She stepped out onto the deck. The water lapped softly against the pilings. Birds called from the pine trees. Across the shore, a small boat drifted by, leaving a delicate wake. Gabrielle inhaled deeply, the cool air filling her lungs along with a new solid sense of peace. This house and this life were truly hers now. No more asking permission. No more being cornered. She smiled, realizing she had not just rebuilt a house, but claimed her own freedom. She whispered to herself a quiet vow. At last, I've built something no one can take away. Sunlight shattered across the water into 1,000 bright points. A new chapter had begun for Gabrielle, steady, peaceful, and entirely her own.